try that again.
This is Wardlow from AEW, and you're watching The Joe Cronin Show.
A wrestling podcast with attitude.
Wardlow, the guy that still hasn't debuted yet on AEW TV, but we're going to make sure you know him here on The Joe Cronin Show. I am with Brody from Jabroni Jabber Podcast on YouTube. He's a big Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and that's why he's got his jersey on. I got to get my Bruins jersey on so we can do our like hockey podcast with our jerseys. We look like hockey douchebags.
Hey, man.
Hey, well,
better than hockey douchebag.
Last night, Hell in a Cell happened. We get the... You're getting harassed. My kid's going to come in here next. You got to, like, say hi to him, or he's going to be like, why aren't you talking to me?
Hey, you're okay, buddy. Ta-da. Okay, go
it's funny, because my last video, my kid was coming in the room while I was doing it, and now Brody's got his kid coming in during his. But last night was Hell in a Cell. I've made a bunch of videos about it. We talked a lot about Hell in the Cell last night. Obviously, it's ridiculous. Before I get into what's happening tonight on Monday Night Raw, which is, you know, there's some stuff going down, and WWE just released some of the information of what they're doing. What exactly, how did you feel about last night? I know you don't like it, but...
Well, I've said numerous times, and I think we all have, that it's like, all right, that's the last straw. That's it. I'm done with this dumb company. I'm canceling everything. And then we continuously move the line. Well, finally, and I was one of those people too. That's it. I've said it before when Romans won and all that. I'm canceling my network. I've had enough. Well, finally, after last night's fiasco, I don't know what in God's green earth that actually was. I finally did it, and I canceled the WWE network. And like a jaded ex-girlfriend, I unfollowed anything on any of my social media that has WWE anywhere in the title.
Well, and let me tell you, man, people may start being like, oh, what a baby that guy is, or whatever the hell else people want to say. But the fact of the matter is, then there's other people that will call you a baby for that, but there's other people that will also say, if you don't like it, stop watching, stop doing all this stuff. And you know what? Eventually that does happen, and sounds like you're at that point.
Yeah, I totally am. I mean, I've been a fan of the company since I was 4 years old, so 26 years. But those early 90s, I was more a fan of the WWF. And then when I was like 8 in 97 with the NWO and everything, I became a fan of WCW. And I stuck by even at 10 or 13, I guess it would have been, in the year 2000 under the Russo WCW. I stuck through that even at 13 going, you know what, something's off here, but it's WCW. Well, to me, this is starting to feel like 2000 WCW, and I'm not going through that shit again.
It does feel like 2000 WCW. This is the comparisons are everywhere, man. Everyone's comparing it to either something like the finger poke or the Russo winning the belt or whatever around that time. It's so eye rolling. This is crazy. And tonight, you know, but the numbers are showing this. Everybody that says, oh, stop watching, or, you know, you sound like a baby or whatever, it's just a fact that people are dropping off. People that watched my show that I never thought would stop watching have stopped watching over the last 2 years. There's people that are still coming into the reviews that are like, oh, it still sucks, that's funny, and they leave. And I know they're not watching because they have nothing to say about it, because I'll take a phone call from somebody who I know very well that I'm like, oh, I've known this guy, I want to hear what your opinion is. And I'll take their phone call, and they'll just say, I don't know, I didn't watch it. And they'll call just to call, but they didn't watch it. So it's kind of funny. But tonight on Raw, which is going to be an eye roller, I feel like this is going to be like, I feel like we're going to see Salt in the Wound tonight. They're in Bakersfield, California, where I feel like people would rather get high than give a crap about this wrestling. So I'm not. But then again, I'm surprised we had the boos and the AEW chants that we had last night. Were you surprised about that? I mean, like, because like I was, I never could have ever predicted that was going to go down, especially after the crowd died down pretty quiet halfway through the show last night in Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, that shocked me because I don't know. They were in Sacramento, right? That doesn't feel like a wrestling hotbed, so I didn't expect anything. But, you know, like finally, like anything, it's starting to feel like if you see it in the ratings, like you mentioned, and the crowds and stuff, if you just take advantage of your audience for so long, just thinking, they'll talk, but they'll keep coming back. You know, it just starts with a few people, and it just starts building a movement or whatever, and people are just like, enough, like fix it or we're leaving. Like, we can't deal with this shit anymore.
Yeah, the other thing too is right now, I don't know if anybody's aware of this, but WWE is like deleting multiple comments on Twitter. They've posted stuff on Twitter today. They've then deleted it multiple times about rematches and the Fiend versus Seth Rollins at Survivor Series. Them tonight, they've deleted that one. And now I'm just told by listener Elias, WWE just deleted 6 things to preview for Raw tonight off their YouTube channel. So that just came down off their YouTube channel. So it sounds like they don't know what the hell is going on tonight, but who knows? Champions Showcase announced for Raw. That's one of the biggest things announced tonight, where it's boxer Tyson Fury will have a live mic to address Braun Strowman. Who gives a crap? I feel like I don't care about this. This is like the Big Show and Mayweather all over again, except they did it better, I feel like, than this will ever be. Viking Raiders faced Raw Tag Team Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode in a non-title match. Well, then who cares about that? Natalia versus Lacey Evans in another match. They were supposed to have their last match, and then they had another one, and now they're having another one after the other one. And I guess they're having another match because WWE feels Natalia's helping Lacey build and whatever else. But again, it's like they can never figure out what exactly they're doing, and they say things and then they don't do it. The biggest thing is Fox, like no Sting, no Undertaker. Yeah, there was Austin in the opening, but he wasn't there. People thought all of those 3 were going to be physically in attendance. And they were. They just didn't come out.
Yeah, and it's for lack of a better term, it was clickbaiting. They really made I watched SmackDown. I was quite excited to watch because, I mean,
This is
we did just have the Raw reunion, so we did see a lot of guys, but I still get nostalgic every time everyone comes back. Like, it was the same thing. I had no expectations for SmackDown, and then The Rock came in, and I thought he killed it like he always does. And I seen a lot of people were like, man, I think he helped Becky, and I think he helped Corbin as well. And I thought that was great. And then, like they say, she was all downhill from there. Like you had mentioned in your review, Joe, the ladder match with Shane and Kevin was great, but they didn't have nearly enough time. Everything was rushed. And then we'll get some people that'll be like, "Oh, look at the ratings. The ratings were awesome for SmackDown." That's because ratings are usually always awesome on a debut. Like, look at some TV shows where their pilots are through the roof, and then everyone's like, "Well, this show sucks," and the ratings just plummet.
Yeah, it's people have like short memories. I mean, this was the 20th anniversary of SmackDown or whatever it was. Raw just did the same thing. Yeah, they did 4.5 million views. That didn't matter because then in the next week or two, everybody was gone from that too. We'll probably get the same thing here. I'm expecting SmackDown this week to maybe do a 2.8. Like, it might actually do a high rating this week just because of how weird it is being on Fox and all that stuff. But then you're going to see the ratings come down again, maybe down to a 2.5. I don't think the ratings are going to go anywhere. They're not. I don't think they're going to go back up to a 3. I will be shocked. I will be beyond belief shocked if the ratings for SmackDown are at 3 or above this week. That just probably will not happen. Absolutely not. Probably go back down to a 2.3, 2.2, 2.5, whatever. I find myself looking forward to Wednesday. Certainly not looking forward to whatever the hell they do tonight. They also have Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch appear on Miz TV. Ugh. Stay tuned for updates on Raw from Wrestling Inc.'s website. Like, my God, this couldn't be less interesting. I think they're going to be in for quite a. If the people in Bakersfield are feeling agitated enough, they could be in for a hell of a troll by the crowd tonight. Maybe. I mean, this stuff might carry over tonight.
I would hope so. Like, that some people would come over, and like you had mentioned too, I'm looking forward to Wednesday, obviously, and I think SmackDown on Fox is more likely to drop below a 2 than they are to ever hit a 3. But I think another thing in wrestling that I'm excited for that a lot of people are forgetting or kind of overlooking is, I don't know if you've seen all the.
This is Wardlow.
I did it again twice. I played the friggin' Wardlow thing. Oh, go ahead.
Well, he's really wanting to plug your show.
Wardlow really wants to plug himself in AEW. Take it easy, Wardlow.
Yeah, calm down now. But I don't know if you seen the tweets and everything. Yeah, thanks, buddy. The tweets the last week from the set for the new NWA Power Hour.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
I'm looking forward to that. I think it's on Tuesdays at 6:05 now on YouTube. They're gonna upload the shows, and I'm like, see, I like that old how they just are like, you know what, we're gonna take the old '80s set and we're just gonna bring it to modern TV, and we're gonna have maybe 100 people in the studio watching, but we're gonna try to put out quality wrestling. And I'm like, fuck, I can get behind that. So check that stuff out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll add that to my list of online watching. I mean, I'm watching, NWA now, MLW. There's another one too that I can't think of. Oh yeah, Booker T's Reality of Wrestling. And then on top of that, everybody's been hearing me plug the Title Match Wrestling Network website, which they've got deals with like hundreds of independent promotions. So you can watch their pay-per-views on their website, or you can watch the streaming ones when anybody streams from around the country. And then, then there's the ones that just broadcast on YouTube or Twitch, like House of Hardcore or MLW and now NWA. And man, there's so much wrestling. I'm really excited about this. I want to create this sort of indie or underground show where we kind of talk about some of these matches that people haven't seen before. Or maybe you missed it or whatever the case is. But yeah, there's so much to absorb now that it's almost unbelievable. This last week and a half, I can tell you that I've never experienced anything like this. With the amount of content to keep up with and then to do, and the amount of traffic I'm seeing. The amount of traffic I'm seeing right now is traffic I haven't seen in 3 years, 4 years. But like it's hard to believe that what's crazy is when I started this YouTube show in 2013 and 2014, I had double the traffic that I have right now. And I'm not talking about traffic just to me. I'm talking about the traffic overall of wrestling fans on the internet. The traffic in 2013 and 14 was incredible for WWE. It was like if you made a video, it could do so well because people were searching for all this stuff. When I was live, there'd be thousands of people coming in, 5,000 to 10,000 live viewers sometimes. And now, that doesn't really happen. And last night we had viewership that shot up 30%. Everything went up 30% this past week. And it's all because of AEW. So, like, without AEW, this wouldn't have happened, like, no matter what, with anybody. And it did help that WWE was going to Fox. That was something, too. It did help that there was a pay-per-view Sunday last night for Hell in a Cell, even though it ended up turning into garbage. But what happened was AEW created this reinterest of fans, and it's crazy, man. I'm telling you, everything is up 30%. People are like, oh, you suck the AEW's ass. I'm going to suck their ass because I mean, they're helping me. This is the stuff we wanted. This is the stuff we talked about. But it's weird because as AEW presents and then pretty much is accepted, they keep putting stuff out there. People keep giving them a thumbs up right back at them. Like, here you go. Have my money. I want that T-shirt. Jericho said something about a hot dog. We want that T-shirt. And it's like people keep reciprocating to AEW. Whereas with WWE, they keep putting out stuff and people keep throwing it back at them. It's the complete opposite. It's very bizarre. What do you think about? Well, let me go to a positive real quick, and then unless you have something to say about that, but a positive would be Sasha and Becky. At least they had a good Hell in a Cell match.
Oh, that was fantastic. I mean, I was again fool me. I watched that match, and I'm usually a pessimist, so
yeah.
Generally, I'd be like, well, all downhill from here. But last night, I was like, you know what? This might actually, maybe we're going to get a good show. It got me feeling, I'm like, holy shit, maybe the Fiend's actually going to win the title and everything, and they're going to put on a good show. Well, I was wrong, but I was totally anti-Sasha when she left until I watched that 24. Then I was like, kind of felt like a piece of shit, and I felt bad. But I'm happy that she's back. Cause
we have breaking news. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
I hope everybody's out there is ready for breaking news. And this is probably going to be the main title of my video now. So I apologize if you had to wait to get to this moment. I will try to timestamp it down below. But that being said, last night there were 2 injuries apparently in Hell in a Cell. There's no word yet on the injury details, but John Pollock of Post Wrestling reports that Sasha Banks, and Bray Wyatt were injured last night in Hell in a Cell in some way. So that's John Pollock of Post Wrestling. Banks and Wyatt are not medically cleared to compete tonight on Raw. There was no timeline provided for their ring returns, and no indication that that either injury is serious. You are talking about probably the two people that are besides Becky Lynch, maybe, are the most interesting people from last night's show. And now they're saying that Sasha Banks is injured in some way and isn't approved to wrestle right now. And Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, is in the same situation. Like,
you think it's a shoot or a work?
That's what I'm wondering. Like, it's like, well, is that okay? We weren't going to have them on the show tonight, so let's come out with this injury thing because Sasha won't be there, and we don't want the Fiend to even be there because they probably don't know what to do right now. They're probably freaking out over this. I think. I mean, there's the report that Vince laughed at everything,
which that would not surprise me in the least.
Yeah, I mean, he might have laughed, and that doesn't even mean that he was happy with it. Just because Vince laughed, if that is a true report that he laughed, that doesn't mean that means that he's like, this is great. He might have laughed kind of like almost like he can't believe it. Or or he thought the crowd didn't get it. Now, most people think he's laughing at us, and I think they really are. I think they think we're idiots at this point. I think they think you, the fans, are idiots, the people listening to this. They really must think you're all morons because they are super morons. And at this point, the draft, I couldn't care less. I'm actually annoyed. I hate the draft. I hate it. I hate you. I hate the draft. I hate everybody right now. Not you, but I hate the draft. Because everybody's like, let's see what happens when the draft happens. Well, we've done that about 8 times now. And every other time, the result is it doesn't matter. But this time, they are saying they're pitting Fox and USA against each other. Did you hear that the other night? They were like, well, Fox wants this, and Fox wants to draft this guy. So they're sort of like saying, like, look at these networks are against each other. And
if they do separate. It and stick to it, it might actually, maybe it'll work this time.
Well, they are separate networks, so I mean, like Fox and NBC and all them are different. Although maybe not now, because Fox is now owned by Disney.
Yeah, like if they actually follow through with the networks and keep people apart, but every time they do the draft, it's like no, Raws and SmackDown are completely separate, and then after a month, it's like, oh well, maybe we'll just bring Becky over here for a one-off, and then well maybe we'll have Roman appear on the other one, and then
yeah.
And then you know what? No, you know what? It really doesn't matter because we're all the same company. So we never said it was 2 separate brands. It's all the same company. We don't know where you guys got that idea from.
If you were if you were to get a statistician, right, like somebody who's crazy with stats or who has the time to do what I'm about to tell you, what if you went back into the Attitude Era, you went back into even before that, if you went back to like 1997 to the year 1999, and you created a math equation for how many wrestlers are on the roster versus how many wrestlers appear weekly on the show, TV time, how many matches they have, and how much new talent is brought in and mixed into the new shows. And you created that stat. There's your formula. It's like, how many people did you have? It's like, and the answer is there wasn't a big roster. So there wasn't a big roster. And you, every once in a while, every couple months or so, or every 4 months, it felt like one new superstar was being introduced. And they were able to do the same shows weekly and entertain people. Like, even the undercard, for the most part, was able to entertain people. So now it's like, well, we needed to do the wild cards and drafts and stuff because people get bored of the same matches every week. And, yeah, there's more wrestling. There's another hour now on Mondays, but still, it should be attainable that you can entertain everybody with the same crew of guys. You should be able to take 40 wrestlers and create a show for a whole year even if you write the right storylines and have the right matchups and do the right things on the show. There shouldn't be any reason why because that worked before. So, people like saying, oh, they need to have the crossover. They need to have the wild card rule. And that's obviously it didn't work because nothing's going to work because no matter what they do, they're still doing the same thing. They're not paying attention to storylines. Look at Chad Gable. You see, I don't know if you saw my last video yet.
Yeah, I was watching it.
Yeah, I was like,
before we started.
What the hell is that? The guy was on fire in the King of the Ring tournament, and then you made him lose a bunch. It's like, and now you're calling him Shorty. And then he gets attacked in the back after he wins. How the hell do they expect this guy to get over? Every time someone gets over, they shoot him in the head.
It's because they don't want people to get over. They don't want the organic growth. They want us to like who they want to watch. Because like you had mentioned, Joel, they're smarter than we are. We're just idiot ants in a wheel.
But
peons.
Who do they want us to watch? Because
it beats the hell out of me, but they know better. But like you had mentioned, and I like that formula. So say a roster of 40, so it's not stale all the time. You have 52 Raws. There's 52 weeks in a year, so 52 Raws in a year. Take like 20 guys that are on the show every week, and then you take the other half of your roster, the other 20 guys, and take 10 that show up on like say the odd weeks, and then the other 10 that are on the even, maybe younger guys. Then you're cycling guys through. You're not seeing the same matches with the same people over and over again. You got a roster of 40 people. Do we need to see on draw day every week or any random wrestler, even Gable? Or can we, oh, hey, Gable hasn't been on for a couple weeks or someone. Hey, here he is again. Gets a bit of a pop, keeps people interested. But when you see, and even their other formula where leading up to pay-per-views back in the Attitude Era, the guys wouldn't touch. You remember that? Where they'd, cut a promo or they'd, wouldn't touch, and you'd see 3 weeks of build-up, and then they'd finally touch at the pay-per-view. They'd wrestle. But now you see them wrestle each other, then they're in a 6-man tag, then they're in a 4-man tag, then they have a blow-off match, then they do something after the pay-per-view when it should have been over already.
Because nothing's left but the wrestling. Because then nobody can cut a promo in the back that's exciting. So if you say, well, we're going to have this guy cut 2 promos, 2 weeks of promos, then have a match with some other guy, then have his match with the person he's feuding with. Well, the two interviews or promos are probably going to be terrible. So throw that out the window. The match he has against some random guy is kind of worthless almost anyway. And then he has the match. And it's like all of this is worthless. All that WWE has right now is the wrestling. That's all they have is the wrestling. There's nothing else that they have. It's like, all right, well, let's see what happens in the match because that's about all they have. And, with Bray Wyatt, the Fiend in this match, what they could have done with Bray Wyatt is, and what I thought they should have done with Bray Wyatt is, what they did at Hell in the Cell, they should have done that on Raw. They should have had Bray Wyatt attack Seth Rollins on Monday Night Raw or on SmackDown at the end of SmackDown or something. And they should have had him do that mandible claw where Seth is bleeding there. And, like, what's going to happen on Sunday at Hell in the Cell? And then have a match, where there's actually a decision. But, I mean, here's the other weird thing is people are coming out of the woodwork all over the place saying they're surprised about the ending and how'd they not give the belt to Bray. And I'm like, man, I'm not saying – I feel like anybody who knew anything about wrestling knew that they backed themselves into a corner here because I want to say for 2 months we've been saying – like someone's going to come from under the ring or there's going to be some kind of false finish here. Something weird is going to happen in this. I mean, I know me and Jake have been saying it, and I think a lot of other people have because it's just how can you put, do you want to put the belt on Bray already? And I feel like they felt like that. So the only way to get out of it is to get out of it in some way that makes no sense. But clearly, Seth Rollins is a dork. People want Bray Wyatt. People want the Fiend. And Seth is a dork, and we're going to wrap up in a second here anyway, but why don't you, it looks like you got to go too, man, so Jabroni, man, just hit me up with your last thought real quick, and we'll get out of here.
Oh, no, yeah, it's all good. No, I would have liked the interference of someone, or even like you had mentioned, something on Raw or SmackDown doing the attack and the mandible claw, but the finish, like I said, to wrap it up, was the final straw for me, and I can't take it anymore. I just don't understand what they were thinking. And I wasn't one of the guys that said the belt needs to be on Bray yet.
Right.
I don't think, build it better. Make the character Like, I think Bray will be a great champion given a chance, even though they put it on him a while ago and they screwed that up.
Yeah.
But I've never been a Seth fan. I really haven't totally been a Seth fan because his promos are boring, and as you had mentioned, his voice is annoying, and
he comes off like such a dork right now. He's such a geek, man. Everything he's like, hey man, I'm here at the hot dog factory. He's just such a, and listen, he seems like that, like a good guy, but he comes off on TV like a mega dork.
Well, and that, Joe, and I mean, I know it's wrestling and I'm supposed to suspend my belief, but that match against Brock where he beat him was probably the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. He's crippled on Raw. He can't even walk. He hobbles his way down the ring, gets the living piss beat out of him for 15 minutes.
Right.
And then all of a sudden when he does his Superman comeback, which I understand in wrestling, he quit selling the leg injury. He's running around. He's doing high spots. He's jumping all over the place.
Not to mention Kofi Kingston lost in 7 seconds, but and Bray Wyatt, but Bray Wyatt doesn't beat Seth Rollins, and there's many contradictions everywhere.
I'm a, call me crazy, and I don't know. I probably I will be watching again. Who am I kidding? But right now I'm just pissed off. Call me crazy, but I'm actually a person that likes Brock Lesnar as the champion. I'm one of those select few that think the belt means more if it's not on television all the time.
Yeah, I would like to see it on a little bit more than Bray Wyatt. Than Brock Lesnar had it on TV, but I would like to see it on less than Seth Rollins just dragging it around everywhere. But also, I think the belts are so meaningless now anyway because there's too many belts. It's all convoluted. Look at the tag team belts of the women's division. It's just a mess. Everything's a mess.
It's like the Oprah meme out there now.
Yeah.
You get a belt, you get a belt, you get a belt.
Yeah, everybody gets a belt, and then belts don't matter. They're going to have to create something new. They're going to have to create like the trophy or the ring or like a necklace or like a mega diamond or something, because this is crazy. And that's what they're doing. And look at where you go in Hell in a Cell now after a guy takes 14 curb stomps, sledgehammers to the head, he gets up, but yet there's a DQ in a Hell in a Cell match. You've literally ruined the Hell in a Cell match. Yeah, the Hell in a Cell match is done. Nobody's going to buy that anymore. And then on top of that, you killed finishers of Seth. And Seth was already kind of dead anyway. But the Fiend, and I wonder if Vince thinks he's doing this in part to delay it so fans get really behind Bray or something. And we thought maybe there'd be a double turn last night. Or maybe there will be tonight with Seth. I don't know. But not if someone's injured. So if that's a real injury or not, I think that I got to believe that that's those are worked injuries because they don't know what they're going to do with those guys yet. Because Sasha and Bray Wyatt to be injured, but anyway.
I agree with you, but where you had mentioned here about a minute ago, something different. The one thing I actually like about AEW, and I wasn't really a fan with a lot of the pay-per-views. It was too much of that jumping indie stuff, but the first show I quite enjoyed. I like having the win-loss records when the guy comes down out of the aisle. At least it makes it feel more real. It's like, oh, this guy's 5-0. This guy's legit. For the casual fan, it gives it that little sense of realism.
Because when you're lacking in some stories and you don't have the stories, you can go to all those stats. And what I think would be even cooler, and I always thought about creating a website like this, and maybe I still will. Can you imagine if the guy comes down and it's like, well, do you understand Cody Rhodes is 7-2 here in AEW? His 2 matches, his losses came in a roll up or something. You know what I mean? It's like, oh wow, he's had 2 pins in a roll up. He's had 1 loss to a finishing move, which is this move. And you had all these different stats. To have those stats would be crazy. And you could be like, well, he's got to be really careful in this match. If you guys know anything about Darby Allin has lost his last 5 losses have come because of a injury to the head or submission or whatever, which it wouldn't be because Darby wouldn't submit. He's crazy probably, but you know what I mean, that type of thing where it's like submission. He's really got to work on his discipline because right now if this guy gets in a submission lock, he taps out almost every time eventually, which you can't blame him, but he gets into those situations. He's the leading He has the most tap outs in AEW right now. He's only lost to pinfall one time. So here, if this guy can avoid submission in this match, he has a 90% better chance of winning because he doesn't get pinned. But when he finds himself in a submission lock, it's usually over. And like to have that sort of build when there is no build, when two guys are meeting maybe for the first time, there's your story, and you didn't need to have some, we bumped into each other in catering in the back, and now there's a problem.
Yeah.
So like, that's crazy. It's awesome to have that crutch.
Oh, and you have the guy that's the king of selling the backstories like that. Is like, I know Vince didn't like him doing it, so he stopped doing it, but in his first run with WCW, that's something Jim Ross was always doing.
Yeah.
My God, this guy was an All-American wrestler at Oklahoma, had a 27-2 record, and just going on and on. And
yeah, that it builds a character. It builds it for you in your mind. You don't even realize it.
And that's why I think I'll like AEW if they stick to that. That's why I liked WCW more, because it did have, for the most part, they tried to cater more to that sense of realism rather than, we're going to call our guys by their real names and not have, as much as I love The Undertaker, we're not going to have a dead guy walking around type of thing. But
well, I'm going to wrap it up real quick here. Guys, Brody from Jabroni Jabber Podcast, check out his YouTube channel. I'll link it down below. He does a lot of podcasting as well, here or there when he can. So give him a sub, and he'll have some content up there, especially if you're into hockey, Maple Leafs especially. We'll be talking about hockey at some point. And yeah, I want to get this video up before Raw starts, so you know where to check me out. Thank you, man. Yeah. Brody, Jabroni Jabber Podcast. Good stuff, good talk. I had fun. Here's some other videos you might have missed, including a link to Brody's channel popping up right now, and we'll see you guys in the next video.